Hello and welcome back once again to Get Cooking. Today in the kitchen we're going to be making chili. Why? Because I'm out of ideas? No. Honestly, it's just a quick and easy recipe. I decided to make it for dinner tonight. It's been a while since I made a video. My backlog's starting to run a little bit low. So might as well start cooking a few things to build that back catalog back up. And tonight's recipe just happens to be chili. It's a fairly easy recipe. Most people know how to make chili, but for those of you who don't, here's a quick and easy recipe. Oh, I don't know how quick it is, but fairly easy recipe to make your own homemade chili. So let's turn the camera around and see what ingredients we're going to need. Alright, first ingredient we're going to have here is going to be roughly 2 pounds of hamburger, or ground beef, whatever you prefer. Chicken, turkey, whatever. The next item we're going to need is 1 medium onion, 1 green bell pepper. We're going to need some diced tomatoes, 1 can of chili beans. These are basically kidney beans, but they're in a chili sauce already, so they're already kind of soft. You can use just regular kidney beans, but I found those to be kind of hard and they don't really soften up the way they should in chili if you're just cooking them raw. So I prefer to get the actual chili beans because they're already kind of pre-softened. Normally I don't even really like beans in my chili, but you know, pat it out, why not? I'm going to use a jar of tomato juice. This is a 46 ounce can. It's a big one, so you can see it next to the other cans. And then just seasonings. We're going to have a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, obviously some chili powder, some cayenne pepper, a little bit, not too much. Some paprika, again, not too much. Some cumin to help season the beef. Some garlic powder, because why not? Some onion powder, because again, why not? Regular old salt and pepper, and then you've probably seen it pass by a couple times on the counter. I'm going to add in a packet of good old-fashioned McCormick's original taco seasoning just to kind of boost it up a little bit. And there you have it. That is all the ingredients we're going to need for our chili. So now let's get cooking. Alright, so first thing up, we're going to dice up our onion. You guys have seen me do this a million times before, so let's jump ahead a little bit and you'll see a diced up onion now. And there we have it, our diced up onion. Alright, we're going to set this aside into a bowl or something. And then we're going to chop up our green bell pepper. Alright, so with the green bell pepper, again, you guys have seen me cut one of these up a few times, but not that many, so, and this one doesn't take nearly as long, so I'm going to go ahead and do it again real quick. Again, you just want to chop the top off. Chop just the little legs off of the bottom, like so. Then you kind of just want to cut out that center part. Like I said, you can use your fingers, which is probably the easier thing to do. And just kind of grab a hold of it and jerk it out of there. But at the same time, you can just easily do this. Just be careful because your knife does go through these very easily and you can end up cutting your fingers. So there's all that. Now we're just going to put a slice in this right here so it opens up like so. And then we're just going to carefully, very carefully, run our knife on the side. Again, very carefully, and just remove those thicker membranes. Again, being very careful, as these knives will go right through these very easily, very quickly, and we don't want any accidents. And we got the other two over here. Like so. Get all them little seeds out of there. Like that. And then if you got any little bits on the end here, go ahead and cut those off, but we don't. So I'm going to turn it back over and just kind of section it. And then we're going to go ahead and dice this up the same way we would our onion. Just kind of cut and then cut, and we're just going to do that with all 3 pieces, which you will see finished right now. And there you have it. Nice chopped up green bell peppers. So now we're going to transfer this into another bowl, just like we did our onion. And we'll set these aside until we need them. Alright, let's move over to the stove and start on the next step. Alright, so over to our stove now. We got our pan, large skillet, biggest one I can find. We have that heating over a medium-high heat right now. Gotta move it over a little bit, otherwise it's not centered on the burner. And then once this comes up to heat, we're going to add in our 2 pounds of hamburger, which we'll go ahead and do now. There's 1, and there's 2. Now we're going to chop this up, brown it all up. Once we got it chopped up and a little bit brown and we got some grease in here, we're going to add in, I'm going to do half of our onion and probably about half of our bell peppers. We're going to add some in now to get them softened up and caramelized, and then we'll add the other half in once we're actually making the actual chili. Alright, so we're going to get this cooked up, and I'll be right back once we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we got our meat chopped up, we got it cooking, there's a little bit of grease in the bottom from it. Like I said, we're going to take about half of this onion here, so just kind of find your middle ground here. About like so should be fine. And we're just going to throw half the onion right in there. About like that. That should be more than enough. And we'll save the rest of this for when we're actually doing the chili. And we're also going to add in about half or so of our green pepper. Maybe a little bit less than half, about like that. Alright. We want some tender, some to give a little bit of crunch into the chili once we're done, so that's why I'm adding half now, half later. And we're just going to incorporate those and then let all this cook until it's nice and browned up. Vegetables are soft and caramelized, and then we'll drain it off, and then we can start to actually assemble the chili. So I will see you guys when this is ready to be moved on to the next step. Alright guys, so I don't know how well you can tell this on the video, but most of our meat has browned up. There is still a little bit of pink in here. But now is the point when we want to go ahead and season up the meat just a little bit. So we're going to start with just some salt. Again, you can do this before it browns if you prefer. I like to do it midway through cooking, so it's mostly done and you're actually seasoning the meat. But at the same time, it still has to cook and absorb a little bit. So the first one was salt, this was pepper. There is onion in here, but I'm still going to add just a little bit of onion powder. Again, you can wait till after you're done browning everything and you've drained off the grease and then add it afterwards once all the grease is out. But it doesn't really matter. So that was onion powder, this is garlic powder. And we will be adding more of this in later in the recipe, so don't put everything away just yet. We got our cumin. Let's give this a nice... See, cumin doesn't come out quite so easily, so it looks like I'm putting a lot in here, but I'm really not. But basically that just helps to brown it and gives a little bit of flavor. Then we're going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. This, like I said, is best to put in while the grease is still in there because it'll actually mix in with the grease and kind of spread out a little bit and make better overall flavor coverage. Whatever I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop this up a little bit more, make sure everything's mixed in. You can see how the oil kind of darkened a bit. That's from the Worcestershire sauce. Sorry, had to think about what I was saying there. Alright, so we're going to give this just a few more minutes, finish browning this up, and we're going to drain it off. And then, like I said, you could re-season it after that if you want. I'm not going to. I'll move on to the next step once that's done cooking. So we'll see you in 5-ish minutes. Alright, so we're pretty well browned up here, and we're going to move this over to the sink and drain it out, as you guys have seen me do 100 times, so I'm not going to let you watch me do that right now. So we're going to do that, then we'll come back over here and start assembling the rest of the chili. Okay, so we got the meat in the sink draining off the grease. We're going to switch from our frying pan over to our nice deep stock pot here. because we're making chili and we're going to need a lot of space. Alright, so we're going to bring our meat back over and dump it back into the pan, like so. Our burner was still on, so the pan's nice and warm. At this point, we're going to add in the rest of our onion, like so. Go ahead and throw in the rest of our green pepper, or bell pepper, like so. And then we're going to add in our tomatoes and our chili beans. Normally on any other recipe I would drain both of these, but this is chili, so we're just going to go ahead and dump it in, juice and all. Which is one reason I get name brands like Bush's and Del Monte. Okay, I'm going to turn that down just a little bit while I'm getting these opened. Now, I don't know if I mentioned before, me and my friend Jane were having this discussion earlier today about opening cans, and I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video. It sounds like something I might have mentioned. Do you guys remember a while back, a few years, maybe a decade, when they had those fancy can openers you could buy for like 30 bucks and they would cut along the edge here so you could lift the top off without it falling down into the stuff? And everyone paid all that money for those can openers, and turns out you could actually do that with your normal everyday can opener. And I was telling her this, or someone else told her, and then I was like, yeah, you're just now finding that out. And she tried it today on her cooking show, and she failed miserably. And she started saying I was lying to her. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this, and then I'm going to take a quick break while I open up the other can, because I'm going to Snapchat her a video of me doing it just to prove it can be done. But basically, instead of locking the blade into the can at the top like this, all you do is you put the blade at the side, like so. So it's underneath that lip, like that. So instead of like this, you're going like this. Now, before you do this, know that the sides of the cans are slightly thicker than the tops, which is why normally you would cut around here, because it's slightly thinner. Cutting it from the side like this, you do have to put a bit more pressure on to cut through the can, and if you have a cheap can opener, it can wear out your blade and the cutting or the cranking mechanism. So don't use a good can opener if you're going to try this. Use a junky one that you can replace for $5. But basically, as you can see, the blade's just underneath the lip there. You're just going to press it until you feel it break through, like so. Now, I probably should have this down on the counter as I'm doing this. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, should be okay. And then you're just going to turn it. And there you see, lid came right off. Doesn't fall down into the stuff. And then you can put it right back on as a kind of makeshift storage lid. So, since she didn't believe I could do it, there you go. It's done. Be careful with the label. You may want to peel the label off your cans before you do it, because sometimes the label can shred and get into your stuff. Anyway, this stuff is getting cooked with no juice in it, so there's our tomatoes. Alright, so now I'm going to cut here. I'm going to open the other can on Snapchat just so she can see it, and then I'll be back to actually assemble everything. Alright, and we're back. Apparently I don't know how to use Snapchat. I guess you gotta press and hold the button to record video, which is kind of hard to do when you need both hands. So I'll have to figure out a different way, but here's the second open can. And normally, like I said, I probably would have drained those, but it's supposed to be in chili sauce, so it shouldn't really matter. So there's those. Give it a stir. Like so. Now you got all your veggies nice and incorporated there. Now we're going to turn our heat back up just a bit. One reason I think that Jane was having problems with cutting it is she was using a can with a pull tab lid. So she turned it over to cut from the bottom. And the bottom doesn't have quite the same lip on it that the top does. The top kind of has a flat lip, where the bottom has a slightly rounded lip. And again, like I said, these pull tab cans, the sides are a lot thicker than the normal cans. So that might be another reason she was having problems. But anyway, I just did a video, proves it works. So yeah. Alright. So now we got that cooking. So now we need to beef up our juice a little bit. So now we got our nice big can of tomato juice. I'm just going to pour just about all of it in here. Yeah, pour the whole thing in there. Why not? So now that kind of gives us more of an actual chili look. As you can see, Get everything nice and stirred in. Now basically you just kind of want to let it heat through, but we're going to go ahead and add some more seasonings to it as well. So first off, I'm going to open up my salt to the larger settings because this is a big broth, and just going to give this a general helping of salt. And same with the pepper. Just make sure I got enough to fill everything. Looks good. Next up, let's add in some onion powder. Should be good. I'm not doing any exact measurements here, just kind of eyeballing it. Next up, our garlic powder. Like so. We're not going to add any more cumin at this point. That was basically just for flavoring the meat. I am going to add a little bit of paprika. Not too much on the paprika. It does help to thicken up the sauce and make it more of a stew. A little bit of our cayenne pepper. Again, don't overdo it with the cayenne pepper unless you like really spicy. Just a light mix like that. And then, of course, we got to add some chili powder because that's what makes it chili. And that does have seasoning in it as well to make it spicy. So, again, very light on the cayenne pepper if you're adding chili pepper. Going to add a little bit more Worcestershire sauce just for darkening. That should be good. Let's give that a stir up and see where we're at here. Now chili is supposed to be fairly dark, so if you look at yours and like, oh, that's really tomatoey looking, it's not really dark at all, add some more chili powder. Just be careful with it because you can put too much, but it is chili, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, so now, the one thing that's I've never actually done before, but figure why not, I had a spare one. I'm going to add in some taco seasoning. I probably should have done this first because this does have a little bit of zest to it already, and it may do the job of all the other seasonings I just put in, so this might be doing too much, but what the hell, I'm just going to taco it up. So I got that. I'm going to give that a little stir in. And that also, I believe, has a slight thickening agent in it as well, so that'll help thicken it up as well. So I just want to make sure everything's nice and incorporated, like so. And you know what? I don't have much chili powder left in this one. I have another new one that I was going to open. So I'm going to go ahead and use up the little bit that's left in here, which as you can see ain't a whole lot. But that way I don't have a pretty much empty one sitting around while I have a full one that I'm using. So I'm going to leave the chili powder out because once this heats up a bit, I'm going to give it a little taste and see if it needs more chili powder or not. Because like I said, it is a little on the light side, but not horrible. So I'll let it heat through and then we'll try it and see if it needs any more. Alright, so we're just going to bring this up to a simmer, keep stirring it. Basically, once it's at a simmer and you stir it and it goes right back to a simmer, that means it's heated all the way through. It's already got steam coming off of it after just stirring it, so it's getting close. But this is a big pot, it is going to take time. So we'll come back in a few minutes after this is at the temperature that I want it at. Okay guys, so as you can see, our chili has come to a simmer. So we're going to give it a nice little stir. There's a lot of steam coming off of it. So I think it's just about where we want it as far as heat wise. Now if we stop stirring it, should come right back up to a simmer, which as you can see it is. So now this is the point where we want to give it a little bit of a taste, just to see if we need to add anything to it. It still smells very tomatoey. I'm going to see if it tastes tomatoey still. If it does, we're going to add in some more chili powder. So let's see how this tastes. It's not bad, but it's not quite there. So we are going to add a little bit more chili powder. Not too much because it does have quite a bit of zip from all the other seasonings we added, the cayenne pepper and the taco seasoning. So we're just going to add in a nice layer of it on top here. About like that. As you can see with it bubbling, it was kind of mixing it in as we went. Give that a nice stir, kind of incorporate it all in. Also at this point, doesn't really need a whole lot, but I'm adding in just a little bit more salt also. Really not much on that. Give that a stir. Now you may be saying this looks kind of soupy compared to a, like restaurant style chili where it's nice and thick. If you want to put this on a low heat and let it simmer for several hours until it reduces, you can do that. I think we're pretty good. I'll turn my heat down just a little bit so it doesn't splatter everywhere. Get a little bit more of the sauce and see if our spicing helped. Yep, that tastes a lot more like chili now. Alright, so now that it's all heated and seasoned and looking pretty good, we're going to remove the heat. So now we're just going to let it sit for 10-15 minutes or so, just to kind of bring it down to room temperature, just so we're not burning our mouth off when we try and eat it. So once it's cooled a little bit, about 10-15 minutes, we'll come back, dish it up, and I'll let you guys see the finished product. Alright guys, so it's been about 20 minutes, everything's cooled down. I mean, it's still warm, there's still steam coming off it, but it's not going to destroy our mouth if we eat it. So just give it another stir just to kind of reincorporate everything that's settled to the top. And now, I'm going to show you how to plate this up. Alright, so the first thing we need is our nice large bowl. This is my deeper well bowl, not my normal size bowl because I like chili. Next we're going to need some crackers. These are optional I guess, but I don't know who eats chili without crackers. Unless you're one of those weird people in Cincinnati who puts it on spaghetti, in which case boil yourself some spaghetti noodles, put the spaghetti noodles on a plate, and pour some of the chili over top of it instead of marinara sauce I guess. But like I said, that's usually for the thicker, more reduced chili as opposed to ours, which is more like a chili soup or stew. So that's up to you. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow depending on how much leftovers I have after my mother gets home. So you can put the chili in the bowl now and then add the crackers, or you can add the crackers now and then put the chili over top of it. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to grab a handful of crackers and just give them a nice crush in your hands. Until they're a nice fine powder like so. Then I'm going to come up here to our chili. If you do want to use a slotted spoon so you get more of the meat and beans and everything as opposed to the actual sauce of it all, use a slotted spoon. I'm using a ladle because like I said, I like a lot of chili. I mean, I guess the way it is now it could work over pasta. Again, I might use a slotted spoon if I was going to put it over pasta. But like I said, that's kind of a, I think a Cincinnati thing. I think is where I saw that. So there we have some chili. So we're going to set that aside. Now we're going to grab our spoon and give it a mix to bring all those crackers up. Like so. Alright, and then over to the fridge, I'm grabbing our Mexican 4-cheese blend here that I'm going to use in tomorrow's recipe. I'm just going to grab a pinch of it, sprinkle it around the top just like that, let it melt. If you happen to have any of the onions left over, or you want to dice up another small onion, sprinkle some more over the top, but I think we got more than enough in there. And there you have it, that's our chili. So let me see if I can get repositioned over to the table or something, and then we will dig into this and see how it tastes. So I'll see you over at the table. Alright kids, trying a slightly different angle today, trying to get a more straight on shot. But as usual you can't see the bowl, so here's our bowl of chili that we just made. It is a little warm, but I'm going to try and hold it up so you guys can actually see me eat it. I'm going to stir in some of that cheese that's nice and melty now because it's been sitting for a couple seconds while I move the camera. Let's get us a nice spoonful here. Cheers. That is damn good chili, if I do say so myself. And of course I say so myself because I made it. But it's just as good as any chili you get anywhere else. Like I said, normally I'm not big on beans in my chili, but that's why I only put 1 can in, where my mother puts like 2 cans in. So yeah, 1 can's more than enough. I like more meat than beans in my chili. There you have it. Chili cooked to perfection, at least in my eyes. A nice stringy cheese dripping off of there. So I'm going to go enjoy this. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. If you'd make some chili and you want to show me, or you got a suggestion for something I could add to my chili that might make it better, get a hold of me down in the comments on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff's, there's links to it up there somewhere, I think. If you're looking at this on YouTube, it's on my new channel banner just under where it says Get Connected, and there's arrows pointing down. That's all the social stuff. It's also down there in the description. So again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Links are in the description, as I said. And until next time, get cooking.